3 pillars of success for 2024 as a day trader. I've got 3 plans, 3 ideas, 3 pillars that I want to focus on for 2024 as a day trader. All right, so the first pillar, and I think this might be the biggest and the number 1 pillar of all the pillars, but there are 3 pillars, so make sure you continue to watch the whole video to find out about the next 2 pillars. The first pillar, focusing on the bigger time frames, focusing on 5-minute chart, focusing on the 15-minute chart. Don't get caught up in those small time frames, Patrick. I look back at 2023 and I think to myself, I'm like, man, there were so many times where I was fighting the bigger trend. I was fighting what was going on the bigger time frames because I was so focused on the smaller time frames. If you look here, like this chart now, like this is the 1-minute chart. We got the VWAP there. We got the pivot points, the upside. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, I think it's going to break out. I think it's going to go higher, right? Like I'm sitting here. It's going to push. It's going to go higher, right? Like if I'm looking at the 1-minute chart, I'm so focused. I'm like laser focused. I'm like, hey, there it is. Okay, I'm focused on that. I want to get along here. I want to make so much money. Now looking at the 5-minute chart here, you can see this was the 1-minute chart area that we were looking at, that we were like, oh, this is looking very bullish. But guess what? We have this high here. You know, we got this downtrend. We got this kind of consolidation. It's not so bullish when I look at the bigger time frame. Look at how the market moved after that consolidation level, after that chop zone that I wanted to get long on. Like I wanted to get long there on the 1-minute chart because I was like, hey, it's moving, it's going up, it's going down. I want to do something. So the big issue here is if you're too focused on the small time frame, you lose picture of the bigger picture. You lose picture of the bigger picture. You lose focus on what is actually happening. The market's making a move down, and well, look at that, due to the downside. So the 5-minute chart, the 15-minute chart, I really think I need to just, that if I'm trading, I'm looking at the big picture. 15-minute chart, look at that, right? We had a lower high, the high up here, lower high. We got stuck here at the open, chop, 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 and then woo, what about 100 points or so to the downside? So a big move down there, and well, that was exactly kind of what I want to avoid by trading the smaller time frames. So when you're so focused on those small time frames, it's very easy to get caught up in the chop. It's very easy to get caught up in the price action when you're like, you know, just looking like, hey, look at that. Hey, look at that. You know, what's happening? What's happening there? Looking back at 2023 and focusing on 2024, new, greater, and better things. The second pillar that I really want to focus on is to make sure that I lock in profit, that I trade my setups, and then I walk away. If I look back at 2023 and I think about like, hey, what went wrong? What went wrong? Like when I had issues, when did those issues happen the most? I would say that the issues happened on days where I was forcing trades. I continued to trade. The market wasn't good. And I kept trading, and I kept trying to either get out of a red day, or I kept trying to get to a certain profit target. And then I got caught up in this back and forth, loss, win. Before I know it, I'm racking up commissions and I'm red on the day because I kept trying to trade. And I think about that, like looking back at 2023, like how many times was I up on the day? I was up so many times on the day, you know, up green, up $5,000, $10,000 on the day. And then I ended up giving it all back. Maybe not just from losses alone, but the over trading, the commission. If you're up on the day, the market's not hot. It's not giving you more setups. You're waiting. You're waiting for your setups, and your setups are not appearing. Then we don't need to keep trading. If the market's hot and there's lots of setups, there's more opportunities to make money. Well, then let's make more money. But at the same time, if we can't find good setups, if we find ourselves over trading, if we're forcing trades, if we're trying to get in and out, if we're getting emotional, if the emotion is coming on, well, it's time to turn it off. Second pillar, I've really got to focus on that. I think just that alone, just being able to walk away. I don't know why, but for some reason, like this year, I've just really just had a hard time walking away. Just walking away. I would, like I said, if I look back at 2023, I would have been up so much more money if I would have just walked away. 90% of the time, if I would have just walked away, made money in the morning, and then walked away, my friends. The third and probably most important pillar out of all the pillars is risk to reward. Risk to reward. I need to maximize my reward for my risk. And if I'm taking 10 trades, my win-loss ratio is 70%. I know that I'm going to have 3 losers, okay, and I know I'm going to have 7 winners. Out of those 10 trades, those 7 winners need to be, 2 to 3 risk reward, maybe 5 risk reward. I need to make sure that I'm maximizing my risk reward as much as possible. If I just have 1 trade out of those 7 trades that gives me a 6-to-1 risk reward, a 5-to-1 risk reward, that profit is going to make it that much nicer, right? That reward is going to be able to basically cut off all the losers that I had out of those 10 trades. And then the rest, the other 5 or 6 trades that I took are going to be very profitable, very nice trades, 2-to-1, 1-to-1, whatever it is. Making sure that if there is a really good setup, like if we're moving lower, if the market's giving me a good setup, if it's whatever it is, if I see a good setup and I know that there's a good overall risk reward in the sense of, like, let's say I'm getting short here, I got short, let's just say I got short here for the break below the VWAP right there. Okay, well, where's my target? My target's like, hey, we got the low from the overnight down there. We've got this pivot point right here. So that's about a 90-point move to the downside. And that's not a insane idea, right? That's not like a crazy idea where you're like, there's no way it's going to go that low. If you're like, well, there actually is a pretty good chance that we know that we love to kind of run those overnight lows. We got the pivot point down there. So making sure that I'm really maximizing my risk reward, because if I maximize my risk reward on a trade like this where I get short and I see there's lots of downside potential and I'm able to lock in 90 points where normally I'm only locking in 20 points, that 90-point trade is going to wipe out so many of those losses out of that 10 trades, right? 10 trades, 3 losses, 7 winners. If one trade alone basically wipes out all 3 of those losses, if I'm losing, $500 per 3 trades and I'm losing $1,500 total, and then on one trade I make, $5,000, that $5,000 is going to wipe out the losses and make it so that I'm able to just be able to just stack up profits after that point. So then the next 5 or 6 trades that I take out of those 10 trades, profitable trades, that's just like free money. So I think 2024, I really just need to focus on maximizing my risk reward and making sure that if I get a good trade, if I have a good trade, if I have a good target, stick to it. Believe in it. Let it ride. Let it do its thing. Let the trade work out. Don't get so focused on the smaller time frames. Going back to the first pillar, going to the second pillar, being able to let the trade do its thing. And that's also sometimes over trading, right? Instead of just letting a trade work out, instead of letting a trade go to where you think it's going to go, you end up getting out, you end up getting back in, you end up over trading. Before you know it, you're like, I could have just held that trade the whole time and probably made more money than trying to trade in and out and go all crazy. So the pillars that we have here are very simple. We're focusing on the bigger time frames so that we're not getting chopped up. We're not getting lost in the sauce. The second one is really just focusing on, taking profits, not over trading, trading the best setups. I don't think it's wrong to, be on the computer for longer on some days if there are good setups. But the days where the market's not giving you good setups, it's okay to just walk away or obviously just not trade those setups, right? And then the third one, just maximizing risk reward. So, really these 3 pillars are intertwined. Like if I could put my fingers together, they're intertwined. The idea of focusing on the bigger picture, focusing on, not over trading, walking away when you're up, not trying to get to a certain profit target, not trying to force trades. And then the third one, just the overall risk reward. And I think at the end of the day, those 3 pillars really come down to just having patience. Patience, 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 patience. A lot of patience. So 2023 didn't have a lot of patience. I was really just focused on getting in, getting out, making much profit, 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 profit. The focus for 2024 is having more patience, slowing it down, trading the setups, and not getting overly insanely crazy about, making a certain amount of money or vice versa. So 2024, the year of patience. We know pretty much after looking back at 2023 that there was plenty of days where patience really would have helped us. Patience with just not wanting to hit a certain profit target right away. Whatever it is, if you're in a combine, if you're trading your own personal account, there's nothing wrong with just being patient and waiting for the best setup. So patience is going to be the biggest virtue, the biggest focus in 2024, along with my 3 pillars of success. So there it is. If you guys haven't hit that like button, subscribe button, you know what to do. We're going big with patience in 2024.